I am Richard Rosenberger. I'm here with Christopher Hood, and Christopher Hood is one of our students at Bartlett, and I'm going to ask him a few questions. So let's get started. Christopher, how old are you?
I'm 20 years old.
Okay. I understand that you dropped out of school.
Yes, I dropped out whenever I was 17 to try to get my GED and to get into the workforce area.
Okay, I got to ask then, why did you drop out?
I dropped out because I thought that it would be a lot easier and cheaper time-wise to get my GED, and then I could get a job and have money and take care of myself, live out on my own, get out in the real world and such things.
How many credits short were you when you dropped out of school?
5.5.
5.5.
Yeah.
You chose to go ahead and get your GED, correct?
Yes.
And when did you get that?
I got it this January.
Okay. So you were out of school when you dropped out until how long when you finished your GED?
About 2.5 years. I had tried to come back once, didn't work. I came back for about 2 weeks and left because my job required me to be available more. I took GED classes, but those weren't really working, and finally I just said I need to get this done, so I went and took my GED test at TCC.
Okay. You got your GED. Now you figure it's time to go out and do something with that. So you made an attempt to join the Army recently.
Yes, I talked to a recruiter in March and had tried enlisting, but in order to enlist you have to have 15 college credit hours or a high school diploma. Because I had 12 college credit hours, I wasn't eligible to join unless I got my high school diploma, because the time it would take me to get my college hours would be a lot longer than they're willing to wait.
So you have your GED and you're wanting to serve this country, and you are not qualified to do so.
Yes.
That's a little shock, wasn't it?
It was a big culture shock because I thought that a GED was what I needed, and it was suffice because everyone told me a GED is the same thing.
Okay. All right, so now you're a little bit discouraged, but you feel, I got to go get a job, correct?
Yeah.
And where did you apply?
I had applied at QT. QT told me they wouldn't take me out of high school diploma at all. They didn't have any options. I applied at Blockbuster and a couple other places. They told me they weren't looking for anyone right now because of the economy.
But then the next one you applied was McDonald's.
And McDonald's told me that their application rate was so high with high school diploma graduates that they weren't interested in someone who didn't have one. It was a lower standard of education.
So when we hear kids talking about, well, I'm just going to drop out, I can go work at McDonald's, make money.
No, it's not true at all. And let me tell you, not being able to work a minimum wage job is disappointing entirely.
You weren't even qualified to work at a minimum wage job. I understand you also have some family concerns and some family plans.
I have a son on the way. He's due February 4th. I am engaged to be married. I'll most likely be married by the end of next week because of being able to get my life back on track recently. But because of it, I had to grow up. I had to do something instead of just sitting around trying to wait for things to happen.
So now the big question. You've been told by the Army, United States Army, and McDonald's that you're not qualified enough for employment.
Yes, and the Army had actually told, the Army was my only option because the Marines, the Navy, the Air Force, all of them won't take you unless you have a high school diploma. The Army will take you if you're within the top 10% of the applicants, the first 10% to apply.
So you have a GED and you still cannot, you're not qualified for either one, McDonald's or any of the military.
Because of the economy, the last GED window was open for the Army in 2007.
You're 20 years old, you have a child that you're responsible for, and I think it's next week you're getting married?
Yes.
What did you decide to do then?
I had gone back up to the alternative school in Sapulpa and talked to my former principal, told her my situation, told her, did she have any news on how I could get online classes or any other programs other than this one, because I knew I'd burned my bridges, and basically pleaded my case to the extreme to try to get back in school, because I realized if I didn't get my high school diploma, I wouldn't be able to take care of my kid, and I wouldn't be the father I want to be for my child.
Wow. But going back 20 years old with this background, isn't that kind of tough mentally, emotionally?
Being the oldest student in school, which I am, is very difficult to accept because there are a lot of kids that my youngest sibling, who's 4 years younger than me, would be his age. Mm-hmm. It's very tough having to deal with the concept of, well, if you don't get work done, you're back in detention. And being my age, it's kind of like a slap in, I mean, it's discouraging,
Yeah.
but it's what I got to do, so I'm busting through it.
You're going to graduate this December.
Yes.
Congratulations for that.
Thank
you. And what are your future plans?
As soon as I got into high school, I enlisted in the Army, sworn in. My ship out date's June 21st. I will most likely be overseas as soon as I finish with my basic training for 8 months, and then from there I plan to spend the next 10 years in the Army to 20, possibly retire. But past that, maybe try to write a book. I'm a book writer, that's one of my interests, and definitely make sure my family's taken care of.
So now that you did the school thing again, you're good to go with your desire to go in for
Oh yeah,
military.
Military's good. Any job I've asked for, plants, piping plants, class plants, they all told me that if I had my high school diploma, they'd hire me. I had the credentials, just did not have the diploma.
If this video is being watched by a 16-year-old thinking about dropping out of school, what would you like to say to him or her?
I thought dropping out was smart because dropping out means you have the ability to go work more, you don't have to worry about the drama at high school, and you have the freedom to be an adult. But being 20 years old, being an adult, being back in high school, I can personally say it's not worth it. The job, the economy the way it is, it's impossible to get a job. You're not going to get one. And if you have the opportunity to do it while you can, don't wait till you're 20 years old and realize you made a mistake. Because if it had been any different, if I had waited a year, I wouldn't even be eligible to go back to high school. And because of it, I wouldn't have the chances I have now.
Christopher, I can only wish you the best. Thank you for taking the time.